Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to another edition of Remixing Politics and Culture with me, your host, Pam. I am a public relations and marketing professional who just happens to have a passion for social justice, voter advocacy, and culture. And tonight, we're going to have what I call a culture talk. We haven't had one in a while. And that's when you discuss the pressing issues of the day. Right now, many people believe we are witnessing a hunting of Black and Brown people. It feels as if every other day we're hearing about another Black person, mostly young Black males, found hanging from a tree. Recently, approximately August 15th, I believe it was, we learned about a lynching in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina, which is the state capital of North Carolina. And it is also ranked as one of the number one places to live in America. So imagine our shock to hear of such a crime happening in downtown Raleigh. It's part of the famous Triangle region of Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, home of Duke University and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. However, fortunately and sadly, we learned that the 32-year-old Black man found hanging actually in between a building we believe that he worked at, that it actually was suicide. It is the only case that we know where a young Black person has been found hanging actually was a verified suicide. They have video evidence of this, and the police chief even commented that the mother really asked everyone to please stop with the speculation because it was very harmful to their family, and that they knew that her son had mental health issues. So we got that one out of the way, at least. So my guests tonight are offering their insights and opinions on this new but old racial terror. The very definition of lynching is the illegal public killing of a person by a mob without a fair trial. Between 1877 and 1950, white mobs murdered some 4,000 Black Americans, largely in the South. So let me bring up my guests. Oh, let me say hello to some of our friends first. Okay. Good evening, John. Hey, another John. Hey, Dr. Codwell, how are you? Hello, Butch. Okay, Lucy, your access is in your email. I sent that yesterday. So please check your email and you can sign on from there. All right. So let me bring up my first guest. She is no stranger to the show. This is Renee Schalk. She is a political activist, having run for office herself while residing in the big old state of Texas. She has worked on several national campaigns. Renee is a doula specializing in working with women of color. She's a candidate for the New York City Community Education Council, the mother of 4 adult children, and a mom of triplets, age 8. And a super fan of the New York Mayor, Mondami. Welcome back to the show, Renee. She's a native New Yorker, too, and graduate of Columbia. Hey, Renee.
Hey, Pam. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone.
So glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Okay. And let's see. Hey, Zach. Hello, Ms. Butler. All right. So next up, I have someone new to the show, Margaret Elaine Velasquez. Margaret is a certified subject matter expert on domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. Margaret is a board member for the Western Michigan Human Trafficking Task Force in Kent County, Michigan. She also serves on the Human Trafficking Task Force in Washington County, also in the great state of Michigan. Margaret is a survivor of sex trafficking herself. She's a fighter and she's a resilient woman. And she is celebrating on September 2nd, 21 years of sobriety. So let's give it up and welcome Margaret Velasquez. Yay, Margaret. That's great. You're mute. You can say hello.
Thank you all. And I'm going to correct the county. It's pronounced Washtenaw.
Oh, Washtenaw County. Okay, I used to live in Washtenaw County even for a minute. Well, while I was in school.
That's okay. Yep.
All right. And
thank you all.
Sure. And next up, I have, who is also absolutely no stranger to this show, is I think Latrice has been on here more than anybody. It's Latrice Davis. Latrice is currently an associate court clerk for the New York County Family Court. She is a very active member in the Queens Community Board 6 in New York City. She serves on its Transportation, Street Safety Committee, the Land Use and Housing Committee, and Landmarks Committee, and so many more. Latrice is a former editor with the Associated Press, so I've got some journalism questions for her. Welcome back to the show, Latrice.
As always, Pam, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Good evening, ladies.
Absolutely. And Lucy, okay, she says she can't get in. I don't know what to tell you. There in that email, there's instructions and there's even a troubleshooter. There's a link for you to get on stage and everything, Lucy. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry. Just go back to the link and when you figure it out, I'll bring you on stage. Okay? Did you get into the email at least? I hope she did. Okay, so Lucy Ann Hurston is actually a professor emeritus of Manchester Community College in Manchester, Connecticut, and she's the niece of the iconic author Zora Neale Hurston, who is also my sorority sister, I might add. So
Small world.
I would love for her to be able to get in, but we've got to move on. All right. So one thing I want to say to you all is that when I was trying to do research on this subject matter, one of the things that's interesting is that if you try to Google modern day lynching, there is no defined list. There's no listing of it in a classical sense. However, there is a different definition of modern day lynching. And what is considered a modern day lynching of today are the kind that Ahmaud Arbery was involved in, because he was chased and killed by 3 white men while jogging. The NAACP explicitly calls his killing a modern day lynching. The killers were later convicted of murder and federal hate crimes, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, we had the another modern day lynching classified is George Floyd. I wish we could get that. I wish I could get that image out of my eyes, but we all know what happened there. And then we had this incident that happened September 15th of 2025 with Trey Reed. He was 21 in Cleveland, Mississippi. He was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University, and they initially did what we've heard all too often, that it's just a suicide, like you just randomly put yourself up on the tree. But the civil rights advocates have questioned it and for conclusion, and they've called for further investigation, but nothing really has happened so much. And then another very important historical benchmark in modern day lynching, Ah, there's Lucy. She made it. She made it. There she is.
I am here.
You made it. Okay,
Thank
let me
you.
give her let me okay, one more time. Let me find let me find her intro real quick. We're going a little backwards here. She is last but certainly not least, and she certainly made it onto the show. She is Professor Emeritus of Manchester Community College in Manchester, Connecticut. She is a sociologist, Miss Lucy Ann Hurston. She is the niece of the iconic author and just brilliant lady of all time, my triumphant sorority sister, Zora Neale Hurston, she of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I got to put that in. So all my sororities that are listening and fraternity brothers, she is the author of, she is the author of a multimedia biography, Speak So You Can Speak Again, A Life of Zora Neale Hurston, Speak So You Can Speak Again, A Life of Zora Neale Hurston. Miss Hurston is a sociologist. I think I said that. And welcome. She is a first-time guest of the show. Welcome.
Thank you. And I am a soror as well. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Listen, where are all the soror? There she goes. I see them. See, they're all chiming in.
All my Zetas.
Oh boy. Oh, Zachary's James Bird. Did I say his name, Zach? I thought I did.
No.
I didn't say his name. Well, I was reading his name in my head, but I didn't say it. Sorry, y'all. Look, listen. Pam is doing everything at once, but now I forgot what I was saying. Okay, guys. So, anyways, what was I saying? I've gotten totally thrown off. I was talking about the modern day lynchings. Help me out, Renee. What was I talking about?
You mentioned George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery as examples of modern day lynchings, and then you talked about Trey Reed at Delta State.
Right. And then I was coming to James Bird. Thank you, Zach. That's why you said that. Zach. Okay, James, this was a particular historical context, a benchmark in this modern day lynching thing. And I remember this story. He was murdered on June 7th. That was 1998, y'all. Wow. That was in 1998 in Jasper, Texas. And I remember they drug him on a truck. Remember, they drug him through town?
How can you forget?
Huh?
Yeah. How can you forget something like that?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that so well. And when white supremacists chained him to a truck and they drug him to his death. The NAACP identifies Bird's killing, along with Arbery and Floyd, as the key examples of modern day lynching. And of course, James Byrd was before theirs. So anyway, I say all that to say, this is what we are dealing with. And now, unfortunately, so many of these cases, they're just telling people, look, we're just, it's a suicide. They're just, Nolan Wells, he drowned. Everybody, it's just they've got excuses for everything, literally. Renee, you got something? Go ahead.
Now, just have a quick question, like in regards to Nolan Wells. Like, I get the, speculation and the, investigation, all that. Has anyone? I have yet to come across any credible sources establishing a motive for his, like, assuming that his friends, like, I've heard it was an accident or something like that. But has there been a motive established?
No. There, you know what? There's been no, I was looking at the latest updates on the Nolan Wells case. And there's been no, it's really, the only thing that they're talking about now is the, getting the phones together. They were supposed to mutually look at the phones together at the same time at this community college in Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't happened. and the DA has been just really super tight-lipped on everything. There's been nothing, and but yet
There's
those.
also the issue of the, I'm sorry, there was
Yo, go
also
ahead.
the issue of whether they were given lie detector tests. Okay. And they were not, but it came out in the media that they were. But the lawyer representing all the students, all the boys was saying, no one took a lie detector test. So the police or whoever the police representatives were
Uh-huh.
was saying, yes, they all passed except for one. They all passed the lie detector test.
Uh-huh.
And nobody's even taken a lie detector.
I
So
like
the
to tell.
alibis are starting to build.
It's just crazy. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you, my profession as a PR person, don't understand for the life of me why those boys, those young men, why are they even talking to anybody? Because
That's what
anything that they say,
overconfidence does.
you'll take all of those tidbits and then they can be used against you in the court of law.
Well, that's the thing. Like, yeah, like they should like. It's not in my interest to say this because hey, I want to find out what happened. But like, yeah, I think right now they need to lawyer up and be quiet.
Yeah.
And one of the things about that town is that we have to understand that this is a town that is got a very wealthy section of town and not so wealthy part of town. There was a young woman killed who committed suicide several years ago because she was bullied by some of the wealthy kids. And one of the kids that's sort of involved in this case, his mother is a judge and she's the judge on this particular case. So you got to remember, we're talking about money.
Yeah.
Is children who don't have money, because this young woman was a white child. And so I think that maybe it was racially motivated, but I think it was more so that these kids are feeling entitled and they think their parents are, I think for one thing, why is this judge even on this case? She should recuse herself. She shouldn't even be having anything to do with this, particularly since her son was charged in another particular incident that forced a young child to commit suicide because they were bullying her and teasing her.
Oh my God.
So this town has a lot of history.
Yeah.
And then, as we know, the autopsy was sent out of state so that it can be private and separate and private and coroner. And I don't understand how you're missing pieces of this person's body when you're doing, I thought you sent everything. I don't know why you keep something behind, but apparently there was some pieces of this particular young man's body that didn't make it to the outside investigator. So there's a lot of questions. I think these teenagers have quieted down because I think their attorneys and their parents have said, shush, because there's too much going on. And so we're not getting a lot of information right now. And, we got Attorney Crump that's on this case. So we're going to get to the bottom of it. It's just not going to be a lot that we're going to know right yet, but it is quite suspect.
Yeah. Yeah. Beverly Mahone, who is Auntie Bev on all of social media, by the way, she says that personally, I think Nolan's mother had a false sense of security about her so-called white friends in that community. Yeah. What do you say about that, Margaret? What say you?
I say yes, because I live in an area that's extremely rural. So if you're not a Native American like I am, which I'm only partial Native, or a white person, they will chase you out of here.
Yeah.
The other
Tell
thing
them where you are, Margaret. Tell them where you are in relation.
I am up by Traverse City, Michigan. I'm in what's called northern Lower Michigan. It is about 2 hours north of Grand Rapids, Michigan, actually. And unfortunately, we cover 29 counties here too, which is another issue in itself. We had a child here in Marquette. I think it was Marquette. We had to pass a law here because we had a child take his own life due to sextortion cases. So we did that. But what I want to say about this case is there's examples throughout history in cases like this where friends try to say things, and I'm just going to bring this case up because I think it's just one that's in the news right now. Think of the Krista Pike case. Supposedly this girl was going out with quote unquote friends. You see how her friends treated her, correct?
I don't
So
know
I
that
know that
case.
teenagers can be extremely vicious.
Can you briefly tell us what that case is?
I think you know about the girls that beat up that girl in that bedroom.
No,
Oh,
it was
that's
the
not that
Job
one.
Corps murder. She's about to be executed on the 30th of September of this year.
Where
Oh,
is in Michigan?
No,
I was
Michigan
gonna
does not
say.
have. It's a
I
Tennessee
was gonna
case.
say. Oh, Tennessee.
It's a
Oh,
Tennessee
figures.
case. Yep.
Figures Tennessee.
This case was originally a 95 case. It was called the Job Corps murder, and we don't name murders anymore. That's why I didn't really want to name it, because it's easier to let it die if you don't. Just a lesson I've learned in gang work and everything else I've done. But what she did was she checked out a 16-year-old girl, was jealous, thought she was taking her boyfriend, and killed her in a satanic ritual, even walked around with a piece of skull in her pocket.
Oh, God.
So, and your friends can be the most vicious, nastiest people in the world. Even where I live, I have groups of teenagers right now running Cadillac, Michigan, of all places, who are acting like they're little gangbangers, and they have no idea what gangbanging even is. I'll tell you that right now. They don't even have a clue. And a guy's face has been smashed by teenagers here. But these teenagers like to hassle adults. You know what I mean? I've even been hassled by them personally, but they cause a lot of trouble. And what they do, I've caught a couple of them calling their friends up to fight, and then the next day they're buddy. So there's always that element of, you know what I mean? There's always that element of, you never know. You could be best friends with somebody for decades, and all of a sudden they might not like what you do, and here you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's.
It was just a thought.
Yes,
And
I
a
understand.
thought-provoking one also.
Pam, I want to chime back in on the question.
Mhm.
Yes.
I think
please.
parents were feeling very in a false sense of security, because they felt like they had money, that their kid is doing well. They hang out with the parents and accepted in the community. And I think they really believed that their child was going to be safe, because they weren't like the other ones that didn't have money, who are not so accepted into the community. So they felt like they were okay. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened to their child, but it is suspect. And so, yeah, I think it's a yes to your question.
Lucy, you being the sociologist, what do you think about that, about these social constructs of how we move in society and how we feel that we have assimilated and what have you? And we think, because listen, they had gone out with, Nolan had been within their company many times. It was not a new thing to be on their boat or anything. And I do not, in my heart, I don't think that it was something deliberate. I think that they were horseplaying and stupid stuff. Freaky things happen. And but then I don't know where their morality and their humanitarianism was. I just, that's the piece. What do you say, Lucy, about that?
There can be several discussions that we fork off of from here. Issues of affluence, issues of basic humanity. It's okay as long as we allow you in. You don't get to come in. We let you in. And then we decide when we're done with you. So it's also this idea of access and social labeling, and all of these things converge, and then a crisis happens, and then you're not like us.
Oh, whose song is that? They not like us. They not like us.
But I think that's what happens. You don't see the same level of humanity, perhaps.
Yeah. I think you're right.
I agree with the comment where it says they suspect the girl and alcohol are involved. I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. We don't have any facts to support that speculation right now, but I think it's a valid theory.
Yeah.
And
I
would
think
Especially
that
when you are
alcohol got
numerically in the
involved.
minority.
What did you say, Lucy?
Especially when you're numerically in the minority. when you're the one. I was the very first Black student to enter a private Catholic all-girls school in Bristol, Connecticut in the summer of 1969. I thought they were my friends. They appeared to me to act as if they were friends until I became the rat that the cat just wanted to play with.
Hey, Pam, someone posted about Shaquilla Robinson. I was going to bring her up.
Yeah.
She's a young Black woman that was killed in Mexico. Thank you, Sharon.
Right. Yeah, she was, but she was killed by her. Listen, they were all her alleged friends. What it was that Shanquilla had the money. She was making money. She was an entrepreneur, and she was the one who really footed that bill. And I guess they were going to have to pay her back for that suite that they were in there in Mexico. And that case is still unresolved. So it's just awful.
Would that be considered a quote unquote modern day lynching?
I don't know. It
The
could be.
social
It was a
construction of
it was
reality.
a group. It was a group and whatever. What would you say, Lucy? How would that be characterized, you think?
I would look at that and immediately think about the social construction of reality. If you build something real, then it's real. It's almost like the movie The Matrix. If you die in the Matrix, you're dead. Okay, so they create these realities, right? The labeling theory of saying this person's okay or this one's not. This is a criminal. Those things carry consequences with them. So to be part of that in-group that allows you in is a position of power. To have your will done over somebody else's, right? To exercise that power.
Right.
It comes with the ability even to just label you or to not label you. It is not a crime. It's suicide. That's a pretty powerful label that can put on a situation and have different consequences.
Yeah. Well, I see Jeff and Zach have different theories on what it should be called. But let's get back to the lynchings. I tell you, it's so unfortunate that there's so much to talk about. And then there's so many freaking cases that you're saying, no, it's not that one, it's that one. I mean, how weird is that we have that many? I mean, really, people? Why do we have so much? Let's see. So listen, with all of these lynches and those that are mischaracterized as suicide, how could we even possibly begin to turn this situation around? Because right now our government is just shot to hell. We really don't have an FBI to moderate anything. Margaret, you've had a life with the sex trafficking, as we all have seen with our own eyes and ears. Nothing has happened with those Epstein files.
Nothing. And what was released should have been reviewed by one of us, because what they did release, not only did they release perpetrator names, but they also released victim names. So they weren't, what documents were released were not retracted. And I do work with a couple Epstein survivors who have been seriously harassed because of this.
I've heard about that. So, Renee, what do you think can be done to turn the ships around? I tell you right now, I'm not as optimistic as I normally am, but maybe you got something.
Well, first of all, as we know, Doggy went in there and just shredded everything to pieces. They took out all kinds of departments and agencies. White House Grandpa doesn't care about the CDC or the DOJ or the Civil Rights Division. They're pretty much gutted. So until we get Congress back that maybe can pass some legislation to go after some of these cases, we're going to have to wait to 2028, 2029. I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I'm being realistic and pragmatic. We're going to have to get a new president in there in order for us to go after some of these cases. Unfortunately, these families are going to have to deal with what their local law enforcement does for them. And many of them don't want to touch this. And they don't want to touch it because it's sort of like going after a serial killer. What is happening across this country is not necessarily, they might not all be connected, but it is White House Grandpa has made it that you can be as racist as you want. You can hang Black people. I'm not saying all of them were their deaths were suspect, but it is unlikely that a Black person is going to hang themselves, especially from a tree.
Right.
You might hang out a window. You might hang in the shower.
Right.
You're not going to hang yourself from a tree. And I'm just saying, I don't know too many who would do that. There's a lot of quicker ways to die, easier ways to die. Bottles.
And the scene itself does not support suicide.
Thank you, Lucy.
The physical scene does not support the premise of suicide. You cannot climb that tree, hang that rope, and get up there with nothing under your feet.
Thank
you. There was nothing for you to stand on, to throw yourself off of. It's ridiculous. It's insulting.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm hearing from the ABA. I talked to a group of lawyers on Saturday. They have their own show, and ABA, and they're part of the ABA. Right now, ABA is focused specifically on November's midterms, because they know that there's a lot of voter suppression and a lot of interference in the midterms that is coming, and they're trying to prevent it. So they're doing that kind of work. So they don't have time to take on the hangings that are going on across the country. They will tackle that later. It's just not going to be now. And I can see why their priorities is about the midterm, because if we don't get Congress, it don't matter about the hanging.
It doesn't matter.
It's right now.
It doesn't matter. Zach put in the chat about the Tasia Fortune case, about her hanging from a tree. It was so freaking high. They had to get the fire department to get her down. But I can't remember. Was that in Mississippi, Zach? Was that in, who knows what state was that case in?
I believe it's
What you think, Latrice?
I was going to say the Tasia Fortune hanging also took place in Mississippi.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess, I'm just going to put my amateur sleuth hat on, and I would check and see if the people who were found hanging from the trees, if they have defensive wounds on their hands. Because if so, that would tell me they put up a fight, which means it was someone or some people. It wasn't like, I don't think these hangings are random at all.
No, they're not.
It's nothing more than a flex and a threat.
A flex and a threat.
It's a flex and a threat. It's see what I did and see what I can do. And it's supposed to keep certain people in their place. And the problem is this: you're going to have to wait, because we've got a three-legged stool in this country: the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive. And right now, our stool only has one leg, okay? And it's wobbling hard. So we are going to have to wait to get some grown-ups in the White House.
The thing is, though, I'm gonna just tell you, I think where we've messed up, I think that we didn't put up enough of a struggle to get him out early.
I want to know why we can't go full-scale Albania.
That's what me too. Me too.
Good idea.
We should get our pitchforks and our flames and get out in the streets. Where is the outrage?
Right.
Where are the signs and the anger? I'm just not understanding that. 2/3 of Congress is going about business like it's normal.
And nothing is
the Republic has not already fallen.
It has. It really has fallen. It has fallen. Absolutely.
Not only that, the most important thing is the control of the media.
Yeah. Oh God.
We cannot get adequate information from American media. We have to go outside the country to find out what's going on here.
Yes, that's true. Listen, I was watching CBS the Sunday, whatever their morning show is, not the Sunday,
morning,
the Sunday soft show, the hard news like interview show. And Byron Donalds was on, and he just overtalked this journalist, and she was very professional, and she was asking legitimate questions. They weren't softball questions. I mean, they were legitimate questions. And when she tried to interrupt him from going on like a soliloquy, Okay, stop your answer. Let's move on. Oh, wait. It was clear to me that CBS had the memo that they are to allow this to go on. And normal journalism, it doesn't work like that. I'm sorry.
Well, I've said this to you before, Pam, how, like, when I got laid off from the AP back in 2007, I did not envision things getting this bad. But when I look at the state of the profession today, I simply don't see a place for myself in it. And so I had no choice but to move on. And that was a hard pill to swallow. But, but it makes me sad because I love the craft. I will always love it. I love to read and write and research and curate and all those things. And the lack of media literacy is just, and I've said this before, it's willful. To me, it comes down to willful ignorance.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even know where to start with this, but I just feel like, okay, you mentioned Byron Donalds. He won the Republican nomination for governor to succeed DeSantis. And I believe David Jolly is going to be his opponent come November.
Yes.
My oldest brother lives in Florida, so I do have like an interest in what's going on down there. But I think we need to get money out of politics. I think that's another problem.
That's a huge problem.
And here's the funny thing. If you look at the Florida Senate race recently with Angie Nixon versus Alex Vindman, he when it came to fundraising, he outpaced her like 15, 16 to 1, and he still lost. So I do think there's power. It's obviously power in the vote. And obviously, I think people, assuming that Angie Nixon goes on to win in November, I think people are starting to realize, hey, we can, outmaneuver the dollar that's being spent here, because it's just insane the money that you need to raise to even run for office.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah, it's too much.
Back to the hangings, though.
Yes.
There's a huge list. Somebody put one out on Facebook or social media somewhere, and the majority of the young people, they range from 18 to 54. I think the latest person was 54 not too long ago, a couple of days ago. Most of them are in Mississippi.
Yeah, I know.
So it's like, what is Mississippi doing?
Mississippi, goddamn, that's what Mississippi is doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mississippi.
But as usual.
Speaking of political races, pay attention to Mississippi.
Oh, we have.
You'll be surprised. They might be one that flips that everybody didn't see coming, like Angie Nixon.
And pay attention to Michigan, because Michigan is a battleground state, guys.
Yes, it is.
It is.
That's right. And hardcore for Michigan.
I want to make this clear, because I'm a person who works in the anti-violence field, but I do legislation and policy. And the issue is, I can write all the bills in the world that I want. I can present all the things that we want, including the Trafficking Survivor Relief Act, which we did pass this year in 2026, after 8 years of my life, mind you, and a headache later. And that was only one of thousands of voices who did that. But we need people who are going to enforce what we do, not just treat it as, okay, it happened, let's move on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
it's and being in Michigan, what I will say, and that's my home state, the worst racial incidents I've had were in Michigan. Not in North Carolina, that they were back home in Michigan.
Well, and in Michigan, what a lot of people do not know, but I do, is 2 places in Michigan are actually headquarters for KKK.
Where?
One of them is in Houghton Lake, which is an hour and a half east of me. The other one is in Livingston County.
Which
is Brighton, Howell.
Oh, I know.
Yep.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
and
what's
so those
the
are
other
2
place?
very big. Cadillac used to be a stronghold, but it is now more racially diverse than it was even 15 years ago.
Okay.
Even 10 years ago, I can say. Actually, the reason why I brought up kids and trouble, and I think this is important discussion for us to have, especially all of us women of color, whether we come from different walks of life or not. I think this is important to have because I have white kids here that won't get arrested by the police, but I have a young child here who's about 15. I think he's high functioning autistic from what I gather of him. And it seems like they slapped my ankle monitor on this kid, but yet they let all the other kids just run wild. You know, I just don't understand it. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I was in cuffs as a kid.
Yeah.
That's the same, Margaret. That's the same thing with the Anthony case. I mean, I know we're not talking about that today, but the fact that these twins were a menace to damn society. Their records are just long as hell, and nobody did anything to check them. And that's going to be part of that case eventually. Like you said, that there's different treatment for kids that are white kids, whether they come from money or not, as opposed to kids of color. And those kids, that record that came out about them, all the stuff they've been doing since kindergarten, is crazy. So
I was blown away. I was blown away. Listen, guys, you know what? At the very root of all of this stuff that's happening now, it's nothing but a repeat of what we've seen, what we didn't see, but our ancestors saw after Reconstruction and stuff. It's almost like history's repeating itself. And one of the reasons why my personal philosophy is that why racism and all of those issues were never really addressed. We got no reparations for what we went through for hundreds of years in this country, working for free, building this nation. It was nothing. We didn't get the 40 acres and the mule. We didn't get any of those things. Nope. We got all the torture and the hell, and they still, no matter what we do, and no matter how far we progress, it gets yanked back, you know.
Pam, we didn't even get an apology.
No, I know.
Excuses for why they haven't done what they need to do. It's like, hey, yeah, well, your ancestors, we beat them.
And I do need to make clear that they do this to the nation also as well.
Yes.
They very much do this to us as well. So you know, they don't even look for missing indigenous women mostly up here at all.
Yeah.
They don't care about women, period.
In general, no. And trafficking is just another form of modern day slavery and another way to just wipe us off the planet.
Yeah.
I'm going to post a story in the chat after the show because the New York Post, oddly enough, one of my local papers, and actually it's not so much an expose because I was born and raised in Brooklyn, so I've always known about this area. It's called the Track, and it's about sex workers and the exploitation and the dehumanization that goes on. But it's like, I mean, it just blows my mind. Like, the playbook is as old as time. We all know the tricks of the trade. You know, like, they take these women's IDs, so they isolate them from family. They steal their money. Like, we know the playbook. We know how these pimps move. We know what they do. When I was reading the story and I had a conversation with my brother about it, I said to him, I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of those sex workers are also drug addicts.
That is true.
I'll never forget, years ago, I was watching a documentary with Diane Sawyer, of all journalists, and she interviewed a woman. And the thing is that a lot of times, like in foster homes and whatnot, it's girls recruiting the girls. It's not necessarily a guy, it's a girl. So this one girl she's a woman now. She was telling a story about how she was recruited by a friend. And the way the friend made it sound, she was like, okay, well, do you like to have sex? Sure. Do you like to make money? Of course. So that's how she got sucked into it.
Right.
But her saving grace, she didn't last long in the industry. She got out. But she said her saving grace was that she never did drugs. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. She didn't do any of that. And that was how she was able to get out of it so fast. Whereas a lot of those women, they're strung out, they're hooked, so they're feeding their addiction and they're numbing themselves of that pain. And
Latrice, that sounds like the story of Milana Ho, our first lady. That sounds like
and honestly,
Yeah.
That is somewhat my story because I was a child. I'm not just a survivor of trafficking, I'm a child survivor of trafficking that was in for 15 years.
Mm.
Wow.
And my son saved my life, really, because I had a young son at the time. My son is now almost 34, but I know I don't look that old, but I am, guys. I'm proud of my son. He's a good man, you know, does
Well,
good
I
work.
mean, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're
Thank
here. I'm
you.
glad you made it through to the other side. Because when I
Thank
read
you.
those stories and when I see those documentaries, it's like, okay,
It,
it's
it,
just,
it's It's not the true face of trafficking. I want to make that real clear. Most documentaries that are put out are not really the true face of what human trafficking truly is.
Okay.
And they want to glamorize it and Hollywoodize it. And if you're not the blonde haired, blue eyed girl next door, well, you get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth of the matter. And that's, and as we work on, and back to the topic of lynching, modern day lynching is not just about hanging. I mean, look at
Well,
what happened to Trayvon Martin. I mean, let's think
right.
about that case. I mean, a
Right.
16-year-old boy with a pack of Skittles and a freaking iced tea, green iced tea, Arizona iced tea in his hand. He's dead. He's 16 years old.
Yeah.
Walking home because somebody's scared of him because of the color of his skin.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
think
have.
he's defined under the modern day lynching. I think what's
Mm-hmm.
going to have to happen is that it's going to all be more formalized because
Mm-hmm.
God forbid we have any more of these cases, but it clearly looks like we can't bury our heads in the sand and pretend that this is not happening because it
No.
is. But
Mm-hmm.
what do we do about it now? Lucy, what do we tell our young people that are out and about living life because they're all going off to college? I mean, school is happening now. This week they're back in school. What do
Mm-hmm.
we tell the young co-eds about your surroundings, who you're with, the buddies? What do we tell them?
We have to start socializing our young people much earlier. The week before college is the cram session. Um, but we have to let them know their history and the place that we've been put in that doesn't allow us the respect, doesn't allow us um, to fight off those labels of dangerous or, the excuses that get built before the crime. Because that's the state that we're in right now. What
Mm.
can we do? We have to know that it's happened before so that we can see the signs of it happening now. So we still have to teach that history.
We do.
For Emmett Hill, all the way. My father was born in 1898.
Who was
My father in
what?
Oh.
Eatonville, Florida.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay,
In
Kirsten Edward
1890, my father
story.
was 65 when I was born. Okay.
Oh wow. Okay.
Lucy, you're
Um,
from Florida. My family's from Florida.
from
Yeah. Well,
Eatonville, Florida, the very first all black incorporated town in America.
Eatonville.
Okay. Eatonville, Florida, right outside of Orlando. He
Yeah.
saw lynchings he saw cross burnings on his lawn,
Uh-huh.
on the grass in front of his house.
Uh-huh.
And he told me those stories growing up and all the things that he went through and all that he encouraged. 1898, so he came through the early 1900s with all of this.
Yeah.
And he said all the things that they did, how they trained their children, how they told them what happened so that they knew to look out for it. So they knew how the world was viewing them. That's what he told me about. But he said, we got this. So to be 69 years old right now and to be living through this, when my father went through it in 1898 and we thought we were done with it between then and now, and there is a massive resurgence because, like you said, we've not resolved issues since slavery. This is like a bad rash that you just don't want to talk about. But whether you talk about it or not, it exists and the ramifications for it befall all of us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I
Yes.
do.
What I like
It
about
comes down to education.
Yes, Lucy, what I like about what you said is that I think we've stopped talking about racism because
Yes.
we've been taught to,
We've come so far. That's a thing of the past.
and
It
not
is
only
not.
that, we're made to feel guilty if we say something that we are experiencing is racist. Then the other wants to tell us, no, what you experience is not racism. You're just using the race card. And so I think racism is underreported. Not
Yes.
It is.
It's underreported because
It
we don't
is.
always talk about it because we don't want to hear like,
Make
well,
a problem. We
that's
don't want to
right.
seem
What are
like we're
going to do about it
troublesome
anyway? And who's
or
going to
we're
believe me?
angry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So racism has been there. We just stopped talking about it. And now I think I'm looking at the younger generation now. I'm looking at young people on social media who are not afraid to call a spade, not afraid to talk about Black unity. They're like, we're not voting for that particular candidate. I don't care if they're Democrat or whatever, because they're not fighting for the issues that affect me as a Black person, or me as a woman, or me as a trans person, or whatever. So, and that's why, quote, I hate labels, DSA.
Yeah.
They labeled them because they don't want us to have to, they don't want us to talk about the issues. But that's why the so-called DSA.
I hate that DSA label. I hate it with a passion because Americans are too ignorant to know the difference between socialism and communism. All they have is an ism, and they can't get, it's like, I can't believe how ignorant people are. It's like, guys, people don't read, they don't write. What are y'all doing?
The average American has between a 5th and an 8th grade reading level.
Except for racism, they don't want to talk about that ism.
Oh no, they don't.
Dummyism is what we need to talk about, because something in the buttermilk ain't clean. Nobody is reading or what's wrong with y'all? Can you read a comprehensive? Can you conjugate a verb? If I see another person say that they seen something on a video, I am going to scream. They can't use the proper tense. I'm like, where have you gone to school? What elementary school did you go to? Please, people. We learned that when we were in elementary school, how to conjugate, what tense of a verb to use and stuff, right? Didn't we do that?
The foundation of social life and behavior can be improved with increased education. That's the magic bullet right there. That's it.
Oh, well, they done got rid of the Department of Education. So.
And I would add this too, that
the WWP lady got rid of the Department of Education.
I would also say this. I think our children are too dependent on computers, laptops, iPads. I mean, what happens if all these systems crash and they don't know how to pick up a book and read it? They're not going to know how to read nothing.
You know what? It's not just the reading, not to cut you off, but it's not just the reading, it's also the math. Because this is a perfect example. I was at Chipotle last week, and I went to lunch, and so I bought my steak bowl. I gave the cashier my money, and then she just stood there, and I was like, and she looked at me, she's like, "Why you stand?" I was like, "I gave you your food." I was like, "Yeah, you didn't give me my change though." And then she's like, "Oh," and then she goes, "Oh, I'm supposed to give you change." I was like, "Yeah, I gave you a 20." And then I literally had to tell her how much change I was supposed to give. She was supposed to give to me. Like she
couldn't put it in the computer. She couldn't put it in the
computer. It was like her brain had short circuited. I was like, yeah, a steak bowl doesn't cost $20. And I pointed out the menu. I was like, you're supposed to give me change back. And it was just like it was it just blew my mind that I literally had to walk her through opening the register, putting the $20 bill in the till, taking the $5 out along with some change and giving it back to me along with my receipt. And it was like, it was just very surreal to me that happened, because I'm just kind of like, I mean, we crack jokes about no child being left behind on social media, but it was just like, Whoa.
But in reality, our kids are getting left behind. Michigan
Yes.
reading levels are so low.
Yes.
It is terrible where I live. I mean,
Yes.
even our trafficking grade is an F, guys. So that should tell you something right there. And the higher up you get up here, the worse it is. And part of it is because we don't have good teachers. We don't have certain things that bigger cities
Support our
do.
teachers.
Well, the
I don't
first
think
We
so
teacher
don't
is at
support our
home,
teachers.
though.
Imagine if we treated our firemen like our teachers.
Uh-huh.
That they would have to go and buy a hose
Mm-hmm.
to do their job.
Tell it, Lucy. Tell
Okay.
Right,
If
Lucy,
you
I
want them to
agree.
teach, the most important thing that we do in our society is teach. Because
Yep.
no matter
Mm-hmm.
what you are when you're a grown up,
You gotta
it's
learn.
because of a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
You never
And
stop
it's the
learning.
basics.
No,
You
you
never
don't.
stop learning. And the thing about what's going on with the teachers, I don't think it's, I mean, I think part of it is just we have unqualified teachers, but I think
Mm-hmm.
the teachers who are qualified, they don't have support systems in place. They're
Mm-mm.
just thrown
Right,
to wolves and they're left hanging.
right.
And
I
that's,
have,
and that's why they burn out and they quit because they look
right.
around and it's like, I don't have any support. You're not paying me. I don't need this crap. I'm out.
Yeah,
Right,
and
right,
Our
there's
most
right.
shortages
important
all
resource
over
is
the
our
country.
children.
And
Yeah.
and see that's the other thing. Even in the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
if kids are being taught history and all the things like our generations have in this conversation, our teacher told us, okay, these things are happening in our society and gave us the backstory, we would be more cognizant and more aware of being careful and how to move and stuff. We'd be and consequently perhaps be more safe, right? I'm thinking.
Hey,
But
Latrice,
Yes.
I can't let this pass, sister girl.
okay.
You are braver than me to eat at Chipotle with the lettuce explosion going on.
Yeah, yeah, you are.
Well,
Yeah, me,
well, I said
I
steak
agree.
bowl, not
I
lettuce bowl, but you're right.
agree.
I said steak bowl.
We needed that moment of levity.
Yeah, we did, guys. Yeah, uh-huh.
Good looking out, but yeah, I said steak bowl, not lettuce bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, somebody says I went to the post office the other day in North Carolina and the two grown men didn't know where Connecticut was. They thought it was out west.
Right. I mean that's a simple geography lesson for God's sakes. It's like our kids aren't learning. We went through 10 years in Michigan where they took out literally cursive writing. I'm
Well,
going
they've
to have
done
an
it all
entire
over the country.
generation. Yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
have an entire generation of stupid kids who don't know how to read anything.
They can't read serif, anything with the serif font or stuff. It's just a
Yeah.
mess.
It's ridiculous. It's craziness, and it's like, whoa.
So Lucy, how do you steer the ship again? How do you get it? How do you turn it back around to get things back over? Because the newfangled math that they've been teaching everybody, the parents are confused. I mean, it makes no sense. And we're falling further and further behind.
Yes,
Everything's just jacked up. It's just a mess.
The longest journey begins with a step. Sit down and read to someone.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious when I say this. Volunteer at schools. Go into your elementary, your high school, after school programs. Go to the Boys and Girls Clubs. Hook up with your library in town. The very first thing we need to do, starting at the earliest foundation entry level that we can in children's lives, is getting them to read.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what else, it all comes after reading.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
What was that
I
say?
mean, the simplest little, easiest start. Teach them to read.
Yeah. That's why reading is fundamental.
It is.
I did the big read with the National Endowment for the Arts for years. I worked very, very closely with Director Lane at our library here in Bloomfield, Connecticut, okay, for the reading programs that we do here. Find some way in your community to improve reading. Little libraries, little free libraries posted around the place.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Well,
one
and
of the most important things we can do to start righting the ship is to make an educated electorate.
And Lucy, you know who did this, right? Ronald Reagan.
Oh yes,
No Child Left Behind. That man
was the
mhm,
biggest
everything.
scam
Ever.
ever.
scam artist.
Yes,
It
and what
was the biggest
the biggest
scam
scam.
ever.
And what they did was, on top of that, follow the money. Our
Hmm.
learning new math not based on that it's a better way to learn math, because we all learn basic math. We learn our timetables and all that stuff, and I can still do math in my
Low
head.
memorization,
That's
all
right.
of that. Yeah.
But what they did was, Columbia University, Barnard College is a teacher's college over there, and what there was this professor or somebody who had this bright idea that we're going to get a contract with all of the schools in New York City. And what we're going to do is we're going to teach them to teach a different way to teach kids that were successful in the beginning. And so it was all about money. It was all about getting NYC public schools to buy this book, and to start. And then the only way that you could teach the kids is if you brought these people in who are also making money off of this. So it's always about the money.
The money.
And when you
revising the books that they're teaching, and
that part, yes. And if you're not thinking about the children and you're messing with something that worked in the first place, then this is what you get. Now you got parents who know how to do math in their heads, but their kids need a calculator. I mean,
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed that.
Yeah. Suzanne says, I think if we taught the whole story, it may lead to increased empathy. I believe my high school friends in the early 1980s when they said things were not fair, and set my path to learn all I could. Let's see. And then Alicia says, remember the bookmobile? Yep.
Yes, yes, I do.
We start with higher expectations for students and parents. Listen, because education ultimately starts at home, guys.
It does. Before it was a profitable institution, education came from the home. It is where you learn to read, to make change, to count how many goats, and whatever it was for your station in life. To some degree of education, that started at home.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it got moved, as did so many other things, and then it got moved out of the home for profit. Birthing babies, okay? No more midwives. We're going to do that at the hospital. I mean, everything is a power play, and it's about money.
And then the other thing too, it wasn't just about learning your basics of counting. Of course, that's important, but it was all the other stuff we learn on how to be a Black child in this world, how to grow up to be a Black woman or man or whatever you're going to be in this world. We don't have families teaching us necessarily who can teach us that anymore, or are teaching us that, because they're like, if you get a good job, if you go to a good university, if you get a degree, you're in. And not necessarily like we talked about with these hangings. These kids many of them were in college, were doing what their families told them that they should do, and they were going to have a profitable life, and their life ended. Some of them were fit. Like I said, it was a 54-year-old man. I mean, I'm not sure what was going on with him, but he was in Mississippi. And I'm sure, I don't know what happened in life at 54 that didn't happen at 53 or 52, that he decided that he gonna hang himself from a tree. But I'm just saying.
They have found a few cases where I saw one case on social media where a truck driver was saying, and he filmed it, how these guys in this great big like RV type of truck had approached him and said, man, I need some help. I need you to come help me because my person is stuck in my truck. Come to find out, he just nodded to him, I'll check you out later. And he watched them, and that was all a lie. And so he was in Mississippi. He reached the conclusion that perhaps some of these people were being hung because they helped somebody, and then they got snatched up, and that kind of thing. I don't know. It's just,
you can't rule anything out.
No, and I would go back to the education part for just a second, because I need to say this as a survivor leader. If somebody would have stopped me when I was a kid and maybe just given me that 1 inch that I needed, it might have not taken me till I was 54 years old to graduate high school.
Yep.
So it's always important to find those kids that are quiet, maybe, that may want to stay after school. You just don't know why. There may not be marks on that child. It may be psychological warfare between a parent and a child. So you need to find those kids and have those kids and say that life will get better. You do not have to walk this walk. You can do something different. And so we need to find those kids that are in the kindergarten and the elementaries and do the things that we should be doing for those kids, because those are the kids that fall through the system the most, including Black, brown, Indian, Hispanic kids. We fall through the cracks all the time.
Right.
I just was very lucky that I came from a home where my mother was a heavy reader. So that's all. That's the only reason why I picked the habit up. So to be successful, when we have kids before trauma happens, maybe we should start paying attention to the little things, you know?
It's always the little things.
It is.
It's always in the details. It's always the little cracks.
And unfortunately, most mandated reporters don't pay attention to it. They just don't.
Yeah. Or they're too distracted. If you're a teacher today,
too many kids.
It's too many kids in the classroom, and then you have to deal with behaviors. And
that's what I said, the lack of support.
Yeah.
They don't have the support.
Yeah. Zach, I love what you said. Believe it or not, how to be a successful Black person was taught in segregated schools and in the Black church. Very true. And John says, I think African American culture embraced not being smart as being cool. That is true. That we went through a terrible time with that. We have to stop pushing that chase the bag mentality. I remember my parents saying, you have to be smart to count your money.
It's not wrong.
That is true, John. That
is true.
Yeah, the core of America starts with choice and education. Hi, Donald. Donald always joins us, but he never sends me an email about what he wants to be a panelist on the show. I'm calling you out, Donald.
Man.
I'm calling you out. Anyways, ladies, it is 9:07, and listen, and all of you please thumbs up the show wherever you're watching from, whether you're on Facebook, especially if you're on YouTube, please, because the algorithm, it is so hard to build a YouTube channel, and subscribe. It is free. If you're on LinkedIn, wherever you are, like the video, share the video, and all of the things. I know we got into a lot. We got into more topics than I anticipated today, but anyways. Oh, okay, Donna, you finally sent the email. I'm going to check and see if you're telling me the truth. You know I'm going to check.
And I will always come back for other subjects, guys. I have plenty of things to say in the 28 years I've been out of human trafficking.
Okay.
And I would like to hear. So
I have a lot to say, and I've accomplished a lot within the movement myself.
And I'm happy for you. Good.
Yes.
That's good to hear. That is so good to hear.
Yeah.
So I just want you to know that we do survive, we do recover, we can thrive also.
Yes.
Lucy, are you still in Florida?
Oh no, I live in Connecticut.
Oh,
I've never lived in Florida. My father was born there. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, Bed-Stuy.
Oh, another Brooklyn.
Definitely do this again, ladies.
Yep.
All right,
I'll be back.
Okay. Well, listen, we're gonna wave off and tell everybody good night. Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.